Up you go!
Time to continue with the bad episode reviews. Now, there have been a lot of bad series original characters in He-Man, but I think one who really takes the cake is Count Marzo. I mean, what can be said about this guy? He's basically a recycled Rhaego from It's Not My Fault from last year's bad He-Man episode reviews. His character model is very similar, at least, and he has the same exact voice. The difference is mainly in his attire, mainly that Marzo is some kind of royalty. He's also a massive creep, whose plots always seem to involve children in one form or another. Marzo first appeared in the episode The Eternia Flower, which incidentally is the second anti-drug episode from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, sort of like a friend in need from Season 1. It also features a returning character, Chad, and his pet Furby from Double-Edged Sword. And no, I didn't pick this episode just so I could make all those references back to the first season. Not only is Chad the most recycled child model character from the show, this episode just happens to have a lot of elements that refer back to Season 1. So anyway, in this episode, Chad's older brother, Jano, is about to receive the Boy of the Year award, but he slips away before the ceremony to meet Marzo and his creepy assistant, Shamira. Marzo gives Jano a flower that causes him to get high. And no, this time they're not hiding the drug metaphor at all. Jano gets all fucked up.
Hey, perfect landing!
He crashes his Wind Raider and climbs a wall during the Boy of the Year ceremony. Of course, He-Man has to rescue him. While everyone tries to figure out why Jano acted like an ass, Adam finds the flower in Jano's Raider, and Orko recognizes it as the Black Nightmare, a flower which once grew on Trolla but was destroyed because of its addicting and harmful effects. Orko then decides to ask his uncle Montork where someone could get the flower. Wow, I didn't realize Montork worked in the Trollan DEA. Well, Marzo shows up at the palace and kidnaps both Jano and Chad. He wants to use Jano's popularity to his advantage and call all the boys and girls together to form an army to overthrow the kingdom. Yes, it's just as half-assed as it sounds. And really, when you take his plot out of context, it just sounds like he's planning something else.
By making those youngsters so in need of my flowers that they'll do anything I tell them. Anything.
Well, Jano doesn't take kindly to Marzo both making Chad smell the Black Nightmare and then knocking him out. When all the kids show up at the place where Marzo plans to hand out the flowers, Jano turns against him. And by the way, where the hell did a bunch of kids get that many spaceships? Adam and Teela show up to help. Adam becomes He-Man, Shamira summons some wolf bats to keep the heroes busy while the villains escape. It then turns out that Marzo has growing black nightmares on a planet called Eternia in a little high-tech greenhouse. So He-Man and Teela go off to destroy the flowers and capture Marzo.
Down for the count!
Now this episode has a bunch of problems with it. Firstly, there's Marzo's plot of using children as his method of taking over Eternia. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's supposed to be the whole children are the future aspect, but it really does sound kinda stupid when you think about it. Marzo having an army of stoned kids. Secondly, in another scene of way too obvious Star Wars knockoffery, we have Marzo flying a TIE fighter. And thirdly, we have He-Man again transforming way too close to other characters for them not to realize that Adam is He-Man. The first time with Chad and Jano is bad enough, they even show Adam and the boys in the same panning shot, but the finale on Eternia is the worst. We had Teela and Adam go through the portal and getting separated by a wall. Adam immediately becomes He-Man and pushes the wall down, and Teela doesn't think it's the least bit suspicious that Adam just conveniently disappeared. So yeah, this is a pretty poor episode all around. Jano wasn't that interesting of a character, the drug references I think were a lot more overblown this time, and Marzo's inane suckiness just make this into a pretty bad episode. And it doesn't get much better for Marzo's return episode, The Search for a Son, which incidentally is the origin episode of one of He-Man's new toy sidekicks, Mechaneck. The episode starts with Derek, a random kid, throwing a frisbee with Mechaneck and wondering why he's always so sad. Duncan tells him that years ago Mechaneck lost his son Philip in a freak storm. His neck was injured and he collapsed from the pain trying to find Philip. Man-at-Arms then found Mechaneck and decided to help him by giving him a bionic neck. A bionic neck that stretches several times his body length. Duncan, you are one sick bastard. I mean, I get that they're trying to give Mechaneck a serious backstory, but this is the reason I've never been able to take the character seriously. His special power is that his neck stretches. Well, As it turns out, Philip didn't die in the storm, but was instead found by Count Marzo. Marzo teaches Philip some magic melodies that allow him to hypnotize people while Marzo tries to rob them. Why couldn't he play the magic melodies himself? I don't know. At any rate, Philip refuses to help Marzo steal, so instead Marzo decides to blackmail Mechanic into helping him kidnap the king and queen. Mechanic informs the heroes of Marzo's plot to capture the king and queen during their visit of the bee people. So the heroes set off ready and decide to stop at a random castle with an oasis in it. Adam remarks how he doesn't remember there being an oasis or a castle there. Then Marzo smashes the gate, trapping the king and queen, and reveals that the oasis was a sham. Huh? But the castle wasn't. Right. So He-Man shows up, and what does Marzo do? He tells Shamira to catch the king and queen, and he runs past the opening in the wall. Marzo then distracts He-Man with some gargoyles. Sorry, pterodactyls.
Pterodactyls.
And escapes with Philip still his prisoner. So He-Man and the heroes track down Marzo, don't ask me how, because they never explain how. They find the cave while the king, queen, and Philip have managed to escape Marzo's captivity and distracted the giant Jalak, which is just Fisto's spider recycled from an earlier episode. By the way, this isn't the only episode where you'll see him used. Philip falls into a hole of a Luma, or a giant bee, and Mechanic saves him, obviously by stretching his neck again. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually wanted to like this episode because I wanted to give Mechanic a chance to redeem his stupid outfit and powers by at least hearing how he became what he is. However, this episode is one of the worst origin episodes. Firstly, we're never told who Mechanic was before he got his bionic neck, so it's hard to justify that name, unless it's just his surname or something. Secondly, he already had a robotic voice before getting his neck, which also doesn't make sense. We have Marzo's scheme of blackmailing Mechanic, which really doesn't ever amount to anything, since he just uses the Oasis to distract and trap the king and queen. In addition, we're never explained how the heroes found the location of Marzo's hideout, why Marzo thought it was just a good idea to leave his hostages standing in the middle of a cave with nothing but a giant spider to stop them, or even why it's relevant that he's apparently 1,000 years old.
I've lived for thousands of years, He-Man, and I will outlive you. In the end, we'll see who rules Eternia.
This entire episode just suffers from sloppy writing, most evident in the part where Mechanic tries to locate the secret door on the wall of the castle, and remarks how there aren't any visible controls. Listen how He-Man replies.
But I don't see any controls.
Then we'll have to make our own.
Oh my lord. I know He-Man's faced this scenario a million times, but you wouldn't think he's so used to making his own way, hole, or door that he'd actually just automatically repeat a stock soundbite.
Then we'll have to make our own.
I mean, this is how bad the episode is. Even the people making it didn't give a crap. And of course, what would be the perfect cherry atop this crap cake? A buzz-off cameo?
I have a funny feeling all day in my antennae.
You don't have any antennae, you stupid shit! Well, there you have it. 2 sucky episodes with a sucky creeper of a villain with sloppiness and wasted ideas all around. Count Marzo is probably one of the worst He-Man villains, and it surprises me that he was actually brought back for the 2002 version of the series. In all honesty, this is one He-Man series original who really didn't need to come back. That's all for me for now. Next time, Space Pirates? Until then, I have the power, so can you. Hey, wanna help me decide what to do for the final video of the He-Man Season 2 reviews? Why not join the forums at itstelltime.net. You can also discuss movies, TV, anime, video games, and much more. See you all on the next one.